So how does Armor work, right? I'd like to break this down into really four steps, and that's how Armor operationalizes accountability, uh, beginning with visibility, right? We're talking about really continuous automated visibility, which eliminates any blind spots. It reduces manual inventory effort and keeps enterprises proactively ahead of evolving data risks, right? You want to be able to preempt and predict any kind of risks that are coming in, and that's the intelligence that is built in to this to the system and the platform. When we talk of visibility, it needs to be as a single pane of glass for leadership to understand where their assets reside, discover those rightly, as a next step, contextualize those, right? Which is our next step of operationalizing this accountability. When we talk of context, just identifying data is not enough until you understand deep business context that replaces rule-based guesswork, right? Uh, this has to enable security teams to frame risks clearly and drive smarter decisions in terms of security and compliance, right? So AI discovery built within the Seclore ARMOR platform actually helps with this deep enterprise context. The context actually is across three sub-verticals if you look at it. Firstly is the content itself. So do I understand the type of sensitive information? Is it a PII information? Is it a PHI information? Is it a child sensitive data, right? I mean, there is a lot of impetus that is now being made with DPDP into controlling anything that is related to children's data as well. So the sensitivity of the data is understood by discovering the content and accordingly understanding the sensitivity of it, right? But this also needs to be tied in with specific context on the business function or the domain, for example, right? One of the examples of the context could be, is it a financial, legal, HR document, right? Uh, what is the departmentalization of that? Once you kind of are able to discover some data, which is the function or the department that is actually utilizing that data and for what purpose? That is the business context that comes in, right? And lastly is the intent around the context, right? What is the purpose of this asset? What is the purpose of that data? It may be a finance functional data, but is it like a payroll information or is it a vendor contract? Is it something from a procurement point of view? And also, is it something that the organization uses for internal purposes or is shared externally to the organization, for example? So there's a lot of sub pillars within the context that one needs to build in, and permutation combinations around that helps you get deep enterprise context into the data that you have discovered. The next is around, once you've identified, got the visibility, discovered your data, got context, is around actually providing control, right? And here's where the system has inbuilt controls to classify and categorize the information, right? Tagging based on the sensitivity, right? So that it can be correctly utilized downstream by reading the metadata and the tagging of the asset itself. So if you have downstream systems like your DLPs or CASBs that should be able to sort of understand both the context as well as the tagging of the particular data at play, right? Also, persistent controls with built-in EDRM technologies allows granular controls for rights management, access control, and specific operational rights that the user is able to have, be it any kind of printing controls, sharing controls, or read, edit, and so on and so forth. Even so to say, geotagging basis, right? What is the data meant to be used for, and with what geography tied down to a particular machine? So there are a lot of granular controls within the enterprise digital risk management also that can stitch into the entire platform. Finally, we come in with risk-based insights, right? So the platform is not purely about an alerting system, that's not sufficiently bringing value to organizations. At the end of it, you want to know what is the risk oriented with those alerts as well, right? So real-time intelligence for proactive security and compliance strengthening, to strengthening your posture management, is what these insights bring in, right? So if there's a risk score pertaining to a particular identified document that helps you understand that what would be the impact on the organization if this document was to be breached, if this data was to be breached, then that calls for a lot of value to organizations in terms of uh, what kind of risk they are lying at, and what is the security posture that they currently are dealing with, and what are the control measures that they can do to actually prevent such situations, right?